All right. Hello. Welcome back. I am returning after a little break. This video is going to be a little bit on the shorter side because this is the week leading up to my college finals. So I'm just slammed with work. Um, I had to take a little shortcut on the illustration. The image quality is not going to be as high as usual because I had to export the Procreate time lapse and use that because the piece that I wanted to use, like, I started working on a piece and I couldn't record while I was working on it, so I wasn't able to get the ideal recording situation for that. The piece that I worked on for this video is fan art ofEmpre, her character Keyer, who is just such a cool, like, primal, like forest dwelling character. Empre's style is just incredible. Um, she's a French artist that I just found pretty recently, maybe a month ago now. I'll have some of her work up at the beginning of this video, so you can go check her out. I'll have her profile in the description as well. So I wanted to talk about AI a little bit today. I have a new format for recording these talks. I think this will work better for me, and I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you think, if this is more addresses the kind of questions that you would ask in a conversation. Because I set it up like, instead of having a couple bullet points that I want to talk about, I'm doing a couple questions, like I'm interviewing myself that I'm going to address, I suppose. So, what about AI? What is its impact on growing artists? I think that really it the impact that it has on growing artists is kind of, it's more like of implied impact, in the sense that growing artists, the AI, people aren't going to be using AI to copy my style and make stuff that I don't make, because I'm just not big enough for that to be a realistic thing to happen. What AI has done is new and upcoming artists who are doing a high level of digital work and don't have a long history of paintings and drawings to kind of show their progression as they grew as artists. It makes followers, enjoyers of art, more skeptical of whether this is a real artist or a generative AI artist pretending to be a real artist. Um, for bigger creators, I think it impacts them almost more because there's, like, for one example, I follow Omar Dogan on Instagram. I've followed him for like 4 or 5 years. I love his work. Um, I've mentioned him before in my previous videos. He's one of my huge influences, but he's a traditional artist, and with his rendering style, um, it it could almost be digital. Just how perfectly and smoothly he uses his alcohol markers to blend things. Just incredible work. But because of the style that he uses, AI is able to create it looking like his work, and people are using AI to create NSFW work, NSFW generations using his style. So he's had to make a ton of posts that it's not him. Um, he's had to just, now he does most of his posts in video format. He includes his hand in the videos so people know that it's really him posting this stuff. And I think that that is really a terrible position to have to be in. That people are using your style to try and scam your follower base with fake art, you know. So like I said, that's really a bigger issue for artists the bigger they get. Um, which leads me to the next question. Does AI really replace artists? Can it realistically replace artists? And I don't think it can. I feel like it's just another thing that we have to work around in the artist community. It's something that provides an extra level of difficulty, as if growing a social media platform wasn't difficult enough already. I think that art has too much of a personal quality. It has too much of the person behind the art bleeds through into it. And when you become a committed follower to somebody's work, you'll see how the things that they care about have a firm hold in their art. Like we'll take Empress, for example. Her work is very influenced by nature, and like you can see kind of the stylistic influences of the game Cri and how that kind of represents itself in her work with the watercolor and like the watercolor textures and kind of the ballpoint pen painting style or sketching style. And you can see how, or you can assume that the person behind the art in this case loves nature, loves little creatures, loves looking closely at the details and environments, and brings those into her work, right? And I'm sure closely looking, you can see other influences from games and stuff. And as an artist talks about and explains that they are interested in these things, and the artist says to the followers how these things bring influence to their work, that kind of overrides the possibility of AI taking over the art industry, at least from the independent artist scene. I think it's more, maybe poses more of a challenge to artists like concept artists who work in freelance and contracting, because I think realistically a lot of studios could just use AI to give them the concept artist level of ideas and then have an artist that polishes it from there. I mean, it kind of simplifies the process. I mean, I haven't worked in freelance art industry, but just thinking about it and looking at how AI is being used right now, I feel like it's definitely possible that people could use AI to kind of take steps out of the pipeline for character design and environment design for video games or TV shows or whatever. So I don't think AI can replace real artists in a way that we need to be worried about. You know, it's gonna have impacts across the board, but it can't replicate the human quality of artists and how that bleeds through into their art. I think that it has a bigger impact depending on the style of art that you make too. Like people who do more of a soft shaded, like anime style, there's a lot of people that do that and their work is similar but still unique. AI is really good at replicating that kind of style. And I've heard of artists who are really skilled at doing that, who people think their work is AI just because of how well they do it. And I feel like as a follower, you shouldn't have to pick apart and look extremely closely at somebody's work to see and try and distinguish if the artifacts in the piece are the artist's decision or generative AI failures. I think that it's kind of an upsetting and frustrating position, but I think it will provoke artists to open up about their lives and their interests more than just posting their art. And through that, followers will be able to the see the real artists more fully. And I think that that can be positive for the art community. So, what about the ethicalness of or the ethicality of producing AI art? And I think that people that use AI to make art for themselves, just for their own personal whatever they want to do, I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, as long as it's not dissuading people from taking commissions with artists. And I don't think it will. So, first point, I think creating AI art is okay as long as it's completely personal, it's not going on social media. And if for some reason you are posting it on social media, which I don't think you should, but if you do, be very explicit in informing everyone that it is not your work and that it is AI work, right? I think that that's crucial because we need to have transparency to avoid confusion and misleading situations. The second point is the use of AI for people to do work of their characters they like. I think it's kind of an oversaturation of the commission market where people don't have as high of a demand for commissions because they can use AI to create the commissions they want. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is people with unique styles have enough of a stylistic independence that there will still be demand for that artist specifically to draw the the followers character that they like, right? And I think there's truth to both sides of the argument because AI can, as I mentioned before, replicate some people's art styles really well. And I think for a less in-depth follower, like more of a surface level art enjoyer, someone who's not an artist themselves or not as fully in the community, may be much more open to just using AI to create the character art that they want. But once you get into having like a structured follower base that's really interested in your work, they're going to be following you for your style and your uniqueness. So they're always going to want their character in your style. It's the personality of the artist that I was talking about before. When it bleeds through and the followers can see that, that will put itself in the forefront of the commissions. It will be a commission for the artist's personality and their style and their influences more than the artwork itself. That's what I believe, anyway. I think that AI as a whole has. I don't really think there's much of a positive side to it at all. Like I said before, it's really just one more challenge to deal with as an artist. Uh, um, it doesn't really bring anything to the table for established artists or up and coming artists. It's kind of just a frustrating addition to the digital world that we now have to deal with. So it's, I don't want to make it sound hopeless. I don't want to make it sound like we're all screwed now, because I don't think that's how it is. I don't think it's as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. It's just kind of irritating. And if you get nothing else from this video, I think what I'm really trying to say is artists need to be transparent. They need to share their process. They need to share their personality, their interests, all the things that make their style and who they are and they draw. Let that come out. Let that bleed through so that followers know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're human, you're part of the community, and you want to share your humanness with your art. And that's going to make you rise above any AI generated content. All right. Thanks for watching. And with that, I love you all. Please take care.